In the previous video, we talked about Dlsite, which if you're a Japanese creator and you're making a manga or a doujin, it is the best place where you can put it up so people can buy it. It's how Japanese creators manage to monetize. Well, now it's going to be very difficult for them to do so. They're going to have to go to an American website. And American websites are filled with fat, HR, plump hags that have terms of service. And they're like, wow, your manga is a little bit problematic. Legacy of the Shield Hero. No. Oh, your women have big fat tits in them. Cover them up. We do not allow this for our puritanical modern audience. Unironically, most people do not know about the terms of service that exist on places like Crunchyroll. Most people do not know because they're the consumers, but the creators are informed that, hey, you want to use our website, you gotta censor. And as you can see, Japanese websites are getting more and more difficult to use for the creators. Because people from outside of Japan will be unable to purchase from those websites. Like, you may have a functioning credit card, you may have money in your bank, but it's going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to actually make the purchase, because the payment processor or the credit card will not allow you to purchase a manga. And the reason for this is not that the payment processors woke up one day and decided to go after Dlsite. They are under pressure from fringe, radical activists who have realized that persuading enough people of their point of view is impossible. But what they can do, instead of changing legislation, they can pressure payment processors, and then it's as if legislation was passed. Like, they don't care if, let's say, the American government would make it illegal for people to buy from Dlsite, or if, as an American, it's almost next to impossible to purchase. And take into account that there are ways that you can still make a purchase from Dlsite for now, which they're probably going to ban those as well. But the message is not sent for you as the customer. Like they don't care if you're actually getting the material. They don't care if you go on a torrent site or if you manage to find it on another place of the internet and buy it legally. They genuinely do not care about that. What they care is to tell the Japanese creator, hey, put your product on an American website. Put your product on Crunchyroll. Abide by our censorship. Abide by our terms of service. This is what they want to do. They want to bring Japan to heel. They want to bring Japanese entertainment in line with their diversity, inclusivity, and equity stuff, which America is the biggest exporter in the world right now. That's what they are after. And then you have other individuals that are using this as a test run, if you will, as a proof of concept, in order to convince payment processors to go after other legal activities. There's already a lot of pressure on payment processors to ban the purchase of guns. So like, even if you can do it legally, even if you are an American and you have the right to purchase a firearm and you know, you want to use a payment processor, there are activists that are trying to actively prevent that from happening. Like, if you're a gun store owner, there are activists that want you to be unable to take credit cards from your customers. This is what we're talking about. And in order for them to reach that point, they have to normalize the process. They have to put it into people's minds, and they're doing it very successfully, by the way, that it's perfectly okay for a payment processor to ban legal transactions. Back in 2016, many people would never have believed that this should be acceptable from a moral standpoint. Like, they would have gone after the activists themselves. Like, the activists themselves would have had people protesting in front of their house if they tried to do it back then. But they managed to slowly boil the frog. They managed to slowly introduce into the public mindset that actually, you know what? It's perfectly fine if your credit card doesn't allow you to make the purchases, because my private company can do whatever it wants. And this is like the biggest advantage of these activists, is that they do it from the shadows. Like on the surface, it does seem that, oh, you know, like one day credit card companies just wanted to pull on one of the largest websites in Japan that's selling manga. It just so happens, you know, they're just having like a moral issue with it. But the reality is, like, when you look at it, it's like, okay, so you got Visa and MasterCard, and now you got American Express the next day. There is no fucking way there's not someone behind the scenes that is pulling the strings. There is no scandal that Dlsite is involved with. There was no money laundering. There's no all of a sudden, like, a huge deal of chargebacks or anything like that. It is obvious what's going on. And a lot of people say, well, you know, don't like it, make your own. Private company can do whatever it wants. I had people from Sweden telling me, and from what I looked into it, it seems to be true. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. But in Sweden, for instance, you can't open a new bank. Like, the only way for a new bank to be opened in Sweden is if an existing Swedish bank opens another branch, or if you have, like, an international recognized bank opening a branch in Sweden. But this is the reality. When it comes to banks, the governments are overly regulating to the point where it's almost impossible for a person to open up their own banks, even if they were to have money. So all of this ANCAPs coming up and saying, well, my private company can do whatever it wants, just shut the fuck up. Like, what world are you living in? There's already millions of regulations when it comes to this stuff. Like, this is probably one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world. So for like an average Joe to create one is almost impossible. And you have the push towards a cashless society. Like, the push is for everyone to start using credit, to stop using cash. And you realize that, well, actually the credit is owned by private companies which can do whatever they want. And then you don't really need to control the legislation. You don't really care, like, for instance, in America, if they want to ban guns or not. You just get the payment processors to stop allowing it so that it's very difficult for a shop owner to do business. Like, in a world where people do not have cash and everyone has credit card, it's going to be next to impossible for someone like that. And then you can also push for personal ESG. You can push for stuff like Bridge. Just Google the product and you're going to see that the banks are trying to give people like an ESG score, like how much carbon you spend per month, and then put a limit on your card. So even if you have money, even if you can afford to buy stuff, they won't allow you. And stuff like this, again, it's incredibly concerning because you're going to see the effects that's going to be doing to the Japanese entertainment industry. Again, like, if you're a Japanese creator, you're going to be competing with other Japanese creators. And you're going to have to sell your product in the West because it's going to be expensive to hire artists, right? Like, you're competing for the same artists that work at other companies that do business with the West and can be paid better. So you're going to have to get the money someplace. And if you can't sell to the West on the Dlsite, you're going to have to use American websites and you're going to have to censor. So this is how they're pushing the censorship into the Japanese entertainment. It's already happening with AAA companies. Like, almost every single AAA Japanese company, even Nintendo, has diversity, inclusivity, and equity officers. Like, they're already complying to American standards. And you're going to see them that this is going to happen with manga. And if it happens with manga, it's going to happen with anime. Because most anime is manga adaptation. And of course, they're using this under the guise of, yeah, like, sure, Dlsite, not safe for work. Because everyone agrees, right? Like, everyone is on board. Everyone is like, oh my god, the pornography, yeah. But it's affecting the safe for work stuff as well. So I do think that in the future, they're going to go after almost any type of payment that you can get. And of course, you know, again, like, there's going to be like some ways that you can launder your money to buy your mangas. But they don't care about that. Like, they're not trying to prevent you personally from buying. They're trying to tell the creators, hey, you want to make money? Stop using Japanese websites. Go on the American ones. Just push there. And notice how the American Express one is not temporary, because we talked about it before. I said, well, temporary, in the language of social media, means permanent. I mean, even the word suspension, they will say, we suspended your account. Like, suspension implies that it is temporary. Is my mastery of the English language not perfect? I think that's what it means, right? But they're using these languages, these whistle words, since the internet began, because I don't think, like, at the time, they thought about, no, we're actually going to have the power to permanently ban people and to permanently, forever, in perpetuity, right? Like, no. So, yeah, this is incredibly concerning. I do view this as an attack on the Japanese entertainment industry as a whole. This is as massive as if Steam was to get debanked, right? So imagine a world where You would be unable to buy games from Steam because the Chinese were owning the credit cards, and the Chinese credit card companies would pull out because the entertainment from Steam is competing with the entertainment from China, and the entertainment from Steam is much more successful. So they'll be like, hey, you know, if you're a AAA game developer in the United States and you want to make money, you put it on the Chinese websites. But you gotta abide by our terms of service. You need to make sure that you don't make fun of Z. You need to make sure that you don't mention Taiwan and all that other nonsense, right? So it's kind of like that. I mean, this is probably how Japanese people feel right now. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.